How do you feel?
Okay.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You excited?
Yeah, I'm okay.
Are you a bit nervous?
I don't know.
Ok. So strange. Ciao a tutti, io sono Greta
Io sono Estelle.
e noi siamo i We
Ah.
Freaks. Oggi facciamo questa bella puntata speciale con Estelle, signore e signori.
Ciao a tutti.
Per chi non lo conoscesse, questo è un podcast in cui prendiamo vari temi che toccano il genere umano e ne parliamo in maniera introspettiva raccontando ciò che è stato utile per noi e che potrebbe essere utile ad altre persone. Quindi,
Sit back, relax.
e goditi questa puntata come se fosse una chiacchiera fra amici.
Che stress, raga.
We're freaks. We received a lot of questions and there are a lot of interesting questions. So I think that once we're going to start to talk, we're going to start to feel like it's just us. So how are you feeling about it now?
I'm okay. I'm interested to see what comes out of this.
Yeah?
Yeah,
Are you a little bit nervous?
a little bit.
Okay. Me too.
Yeah?
Yeah. What do you think makes you nervous?
I don't know. I guess it's the first time for me recording anything online, so there's the anticipation of not knowing how that will feel like. Yeah, I'm not stressed about the conversation itself. I think we talk about it a lot, but just watching yourself on screen or in like listening to yourself or having a mirror of your conversation out online is a strange feeling, I think.
Mm-hmm. What would you think would make you feel strange about it? Or would you have any fear about it?
It's not fair, it's just vulnerability to the masses, I guess, which I think generally I struggle with vulnerability. So knowing that I'm trying to get into a place where I am open and vulnerable and present to the conversation is scary. And it's scary to have a public listening on that, I think.
What makes it scary for you?
I guess it's just people knowing what you think or what you're thinking secretly or privately.
It's strange because I didn't have it at the beginning, but then my family and people started to ask me like, aren't you afraid of I don't know exactly what, but about talking about these things in public with random people that can hear you. And I'm not sure if people usually are scared of the comments that they're gonna receive. So what people are gonna say about what you said, or if it's just the other people knowing.
I'm not afraid that anything's going to happen in the sense of there's an action or a consequence to my words. It's the fear of vulnerability overall, you putting yourself out there. You know, I think as a writer, I have an understanding that some of my personal life I put on display in my work because it comes through, even if it's not my story, even if it's not personal. Art is a reflection of yourself. So I think that it's not necessarily about what the public responds to. I think it's just that putting yourself naked in front of other people. And I don't think that's ever a comfortable experience.
Mm-hmm. Which I think is a feeling that I strangely like because it feels liberating for me. Because otherwise it feels like I have to choose constantly clothes to put on top of me so that I don't show my nudity. And I reached the point where I was like, I just want to be naked, you know?
I mean, yeah, I see what you mean. Ideally, we all have a lot of courage and we walk around in the world as we are, but I think we have armed ourselves. And so I don't think we walk around in the world like that often.
Mm-hmm. So, as I was saying, we received lots of different questions. I feel like they're very interesting.
Okay.
I wanted to ask you if you have written down some questions too.
I've got a few, but we can start with yours.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, so the first question that I think maybe makes sense that it's the first question that we answer is how our cultural differences and especially the language barrier impact our relationship.
So I'm half French, half English, and you're Italian.
Hello.
I think for me, in terms of cultural differences, we don't have many. There's not a huge culture shock. There are obviously some small things, I think, especially when we started dating, maybe on our different perceptions of how dating should look like.
That's true. I was forgetting this point.
So at the beginning, when we first met each other, I think it was like 2 or 3 dates in, and you were saying you weren't ready for a relationship, and I responded, well, I don't really know you. We've been on 3 dates. I'm not ready for a relationship.
Which I don't know if it's an Italian thing.
I think so.
That I'm like, if I'm dating, like unless I'm telling you from the beginning, look, I'm not interested in anything serious, I'm just having fun, then I already set my, my intentions, and then I feel free to do whatever I want. But if that's not clear and I'm dating you because I'm interested in you, and then I start dating other people, I start to have anxiety, and I'm like, I'm a bad person, I'm not supposed to do that. So that's also why I was putting it, not a pause, but like, I mean, I met you in a period where I wasn't ready for a relationship. This is also why I started that conversation. And then you were like, I don't even know you. Like, we've been on 3 dates. And I was like, oh, shit, I feel so stupid. So I think in a way you're more socially free to date even more people without, like, if nothing is still serious. I don't know.
Yes, I think I don't know much about the French dating culture because it's never something I did. But for sure in England, my experience is, unless you're official, you can be dating multiple people until you have a conversation, which leads to situationships and relationships that aren't relationships that drag on for too long, which is also not great sometimes. But yeah, it's a step, and it doesn't tend to happen immediately. It takes its time. I mean, everybody's unique and everybody has their own relationships, but for us, after 3 dates, it was a little too soon.
It was, for me, it was a respectful thing to do.
Yeah, I think it's great to have a conversation early on, of what you want and where you're going, and trying to understand what the other person wants. So if a relationship is what you're looking for, then for sure you need to be communicating that. And if you think after 2 or 3 dates that there's potential to get to a relationship, then that should also be communicated. There's no point in guessing what the other person is wanting. So in a way, I think it wasn't a bad thing. I think it was more a funny experience to be presented with.
What about the language barrier?
Well, it's something I honestly and terribly forget about.
Yes.
On a regular basis, that Greta's first language is in English, which is a great compliment to how well you speak English and how well you understand it. But I think in our initial years together, I did not really understand Italian or speak Italian at all. So all of the work had to be done on your end to communicate with me, because I couldn't, my Italian was too low. Mm-hmm. Now it's shifting because I do understand Italian and I can speak a certain level of it. And if not speak, I can for sure mostly understand you at this point, I would say. Mm-hmm. But we do have struggles with it sometimes, I think, on your end, because I do forget that it's not your first language, which is not very fair because it's not. How do you?
Yeah, I think for me it's more when it's about emotions. And so when I have to explain my emotions, sometimes it's not just the fact that I maybe don't know how to say it in English, but it's the different shades that different words can give to the word. And so, for example, there are some words in English that you can't really translate in Italian, if not with the long sentence. And the same thing in the opposite. There are some Italian words that you can't really translate in English. And one thing is, if we're talking about random topics, but when we're talking about us and when I have to get down to emotions, sometimes I do feel like it's almost like I want to make a painting, but I don't have all the colors on my palette. And I know that I want to use some, but I can't because you're not going to be able to see them. But at the same time, it means that I'm not able to paint the picture exactly as I want to give it to you. And I think the first times that I started to realize that we had this little, we didn't call it problem, but a little obstacle that we have to face sometimes, was this thing, like this example, I'm never gonna get it off of my mind. So every now and then Estelle would ask me to go out and my answer would be, sure, yeah, sure. And she was like a little bit upset, being like, sure, okay. And I was like, why are you getting upset? And only after like 3 or 4 times that it happened, Estelle was like, in English, if you say sure, it means like, yeah, sure, like, sì, certo, va bene, dai. And instead, like, to say that you were actually sure about it, you had to say, of course. So every time you would understand that I didn't really want to go out and I was there like not understanding. It's like different little shades that shape differently the word, the meaning of the word. And I think this example is one thing that was easier to catch. But like thinking about that, I'm imagining when it's deeper conversations, there must be stuff that we're losing when we talk to each other.
I think there's maybe some shades. I also think that, I mean, anybody who speaks multiple languages knows that you don't have a different personality when you speak in a different language, but your tone of voice change. You know, I think we've spoken a lot about that, where you feel my tone of voice in English can be more aggressive or more abrupt. Whereas if I'm trying to speak in Italian, for you it feels softer. Mm-hmm. Whether it's because I'm not confident in Italian yet, or whether because the language requires me to be a different tone of voice, I don't know. But we've definitely had conversations around how that changes the whole feeling of the conversation.
Do you think that you don't have a different personality when you shift language?
It's not an entire different personality, obviously, but I think there's a nuance to my personality that maybe doesn't come out in English. And I think all the same way, like when I am speaking French, I think sometimes there's a lot more nuance that comes out when I am speaking in English, which is now the language that I feel most comfortable speaking with in my day-to-day. What do you wish I was more observant about with our difference in language?
I think, which I don't know if it's something that you do, because you tend to forget that is not my mother tongue, maybe you don't do it. I would like you to not jump to conclusions when I say stuff, but to question if it's that what I'm really trying to say, or if that's my only way that I know to express that thought. So maybe especially when it's deeper conversations, maybe to ask, like, double check. Does it make sense?
Yeah. Do you think that if I was to do that, there'd be a big shift?
Yeah. Actually, I think that more than towards me, because I think that I overthink about it so much that I try to express myself in the best way possible. And if I'm not sure, if I know that what I'm trying to say something, but I'm not sure how to say it, I try and say it in 3 different ways, so that I'm sure that somehow I gave you the ingredients to build in your head the image that I want to give you. So I think it's more actually when I have to understand you, when you are expressing yourself in front of me, to me. I think maybe there is where I need the double check, which sometimes I think I'm afraid to ask too many times, because I don't want you to feel like I'm struggling to understand you, and I want you to feel free to communicate with me without barriers. And so sometimes I'm like, okay, I think that this is what she meant to say. Also, I don't know what you prefer. I don't know if you prefer for me to put away this fear and ask you more than once, or if you...
I think I do need reminding, because as you guys can hear, her English is very, very good. And so I think I do need reminding. Like I can definitely work on being more aware in remembering that this is not your mother tongue. also for me, I'm bilingual. I was always bilingual. And so swapping between languages is something I've always done. It's something that happens in my household. It's how I grew up. And so I don't think about it because I'm used to going in and out of languages.
You know that I thought that I have when we are in front of other people, especially if we are in front of Italians. In Italy, there's a huge judgment. So if you're Italian and you have a bad accent, people are gonna make fun of you. If you are Italian and you have a good accent, people are gonna make fun of you, which is something that I've never understood. Even before we were shooting the episode, the thought came in my mind, and I was like, oh, which is something that then I forget about it. But it's something that I have every time that we are in front of other people. I'm like, oh, I know that people are gonna pay attention to that.
That's interesting because I don't feel that way when I speak Italian.
No, because this is also a strange thing about Italy, is that if we hear somebody, a foreign, trying to speak in Italian, we all like, oh, so cute, so brava. And then we hear an Italian speaking with very good English, they're like, I don't even know what's their thought. I don't know if it's jealousy. Could also be jealous. I don't know.
Ignorance maybe as well, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay, so all of this, there are a lot of questions.
Okay, let's move on to the next
and
question.
all questions can open
to other places.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go.
Do we talk about our past and our past relationships?
Actually, this was a question I had for you. Well, not for you, for us, because I think this is something that's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, we do. I mean, I'll say how I view things, but I think we're both in agreement that our past inform our present, and that people whom we once loved, were important to us. And I think when we're trying to honor our past selves and when we're trying to understand how we got to where we are today, you have to understand where we were. And you can only do that if you're looking at it through the same lens of who you were beforehand. And you didn't know what you know now. Yeah, so I think we're very open about talking about the past, whether that's childhood or past relationships or anything really. I think it's not a taboo subject to talk about your ex.
Mm-hmm.
I think
what I really love about our relationship is that not only we can talk about our past, but we can talk about our past completely honestly, and also honestly about how we feel about the previous relationships now. And, even something that can feel very strange, especially to share in a couple, but that I think it's normal and that everybody has, is also when you still have good feelings about the person, because it was still a person that you loved and a person that loved you. And so you still have, sometimes you look back, even if it was a bad relationship or whatever, you still look back sometimes and you have those moments where you're like, oh, but we talk about these things, and it's so good for me. Like it feels safe and I feel heard.
And I think it helps us understand each other better. Because I don't understand this concept of not wanting to know that your current partner has been loved in the past.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I hope that you've been loved in the past. I hope that you have loved in the past. You don't want to get to a certain age and realize that it's not something that you've ever had. But also I think how you've been loved or how you have loved, like there's so much information there. Understanding how that previous relationship was built, how it functioned, how it felt, how it feels today can be really helpful in understanding what we're doing in our current relationship.
Mm-hmm.
How did you learn to love? Who taught you to love? How did you express that? How did you how was it expressed to you? Understanding how it was done differently with somebody else is very interesting, and I think opens up the kind of deeper understanding of maybe where you're coming from today and how you're loving me or how I'm loving you.
Mm-hmm.
And so for that, like there's no judgment. It's just, I think it would be really sad to, if you've been in a relationship for multiple years with somebody, to never be able to speak about it again.
Yeah, and forget about it, which is impossible.
Yeah, exactly.
And it would feel like a lie, or I'm either lying to you or hiding something from you, which I think I'm really scared of lies now, because I used to say a lot of lies when I was little, and it scared me to the point that now I'm more scared of the feeling of getting caught and not being able to talk than the lie itself. So it's also that for me. And with everything that you said, that I agree a lot, like how you are able also looking at the past to understand better now. I think one of the main thing that you understand through this process is also the love language that everybody has, and everybody has a different love language. This was another question that we had: what is our love language and how does it make us feel?
Do you want to go first?
I want to go first. I think that my love language is a word that comes every time that I go deeper in myself in different aspects, especially in relationships, is protection.
This is not an official love language, we know. But
is it not?
Bear with us.
I think it's a way for me to communicate it. I don't know. Like, do you think that just official? Like, what are the official ones? Like,
so the official ones are
quality.
So quality time, words of affirmation, physical touch, acts of service, and gifts.
Okay, I've got the way how I communicate love for sure is acts of service, but I think I hide the fact that it works for me too, that I feel loved if I see people doing acts of services for me. Mm-hmm. I think that I don't say it because I like the crystal ball, like I want to guess it that I want it, because you're not doing it because I'm telling you, just because you want to do it.
What does
so now I'm
today?
Yeah. Now I let out my secret. Words of affirmation, I think same. Like, I like to receive them. I really like to give them. I don't know why protection is not in those. I think having those are very little, like there are lots of different things that you can put in your love language.
I think ideally in all relationships there is a sense of safety. So if you're in a good and healthy relationship, there should be safety.
Yeah, but I don't think that everybody tends to put effort into...
I would say that protection is more a trauma response than a love language.
I mean, also the others.
I mean, everything we do, right? There's no going around that everything is a result of how you felt as a child, how you were loved as a child, how you perceived the world. But
for example, do you think that you give protection as a love language?
No. But it's not something I feel I need to give. I feel protective of, like, my younger siblings, for example. There's a mama bear that comes out with that.
How come do you think it comes out with them and not in a relationship, for example? Because does it feel different?
Of course. I think this mainly applies to my youngest siblings, who are much younger than me. But they're much younger, so I think it's like protect your young, right? It's a primal reaction, I think. It's not necessarily a feeling I have for my friends. I think as adults, I think you understand that everybody's on their own journey and that you can't step in for them. They're going to have to do the work. Whatever it is that they need to do, they're going to have to go through it themselves. And I think that this idea of protection is, what are you protecting them from? Because you can't protect them from themselves. And although, there's like stranger danger, then you can step in. But it's also, I think you need to ask yourself, why are they in certain situations? What is it that they need to learn from?
For example, do you feel like the protection is not a feeling that comes to you when it's about a relationship because you feel like the other person doesn't need protection, or because because you connect protection only if it's a younger person?
Yeah, I don't know.
When I talk about protection, for example, is not protecting you from something, is also just making you feel like it can be a barrier for you, which possibly be an extreme level of people pleasing, or
but
you know, like I want to give, like I'm giving you myself to you for, you know.
Yes, which I would, like I said at the beginning, I think it's a trauma response more than a love language. I don't think it's your responsibility to take the hit for me. Whatever is happening needs to happen to me because it's happening to me for a reason, in the sense of, you know, I'm a participant in my life. And so if things are happening to me, I have had something to do with them, most likely. And it's not your job to stop me from being hurt. It's not your job to stop me from having pain. It's not your job to stop me from falling down or being afraid or, you know, or feeling joy or happiness or adventure. Like that's not your responsibility.
Mm-hmm. Which I think this is the first new thing that I had to face when we started to have our relationship. For the first time, getting into a place where we are in a relationship, but you are you, I am me. We are two different people. I'm not responsible for you. And it was strange at the beginning having to cut off all the toxic traits that I was expecting in a relationship with the mindset of, okay, now I don't want anything that felt toxic in the past, but at the same time, without them, I don't know what to do. You know, I don't know what to feel. I don't know how to make you feel loved, because still, like, I want to feed my individuality and I want you to feed your individuality, but I'm not used to it. So it was a challenge at the beginning, which I also think led us to a lot of conversations. And one thing that I explained in the podcast, I think more than once. The first time, I think it was in the episode number 8 about idealization. And I was talking about our conversation about the castle and the bricks. Basically, we were having a conversation imagining our persona as a castle with different rooms and made of bricks. And you were saying that the love that you give are bricks that are outside of the castle, that are not part of the foundations, that you can easily remove. They are sono in più.
Extra.
They are extra. When we were describing these bricks that we give to other people, Estelle was saying, oh, my brick looks pink. And I was like, what? No, mine is red. And then I started to look at it and I was like, the more I was looking at it, the more the paint, the red paint started to drip. And then the more it was dripping, the more I realized it wasn't pain, it was blood. And I was like, and it started to be a very creepy vision in front of my eyes. And then that brick became a piece of meat. And I know it's fucked up, but at that point, for the first time in my life, I realized how much I connected love to pain, and how much for me giving love, it didn't mean to give an extra brick of mine, but it felt like ripping a piece of my meat and giving it to you. So it had to feel like sacrifice. And what I wanted back without knowing was sacrifice, which if I think about it consciously, I'm like, no, I don't want you to sacrifice yourself for me. I don't want you to hurt yourself for me. And so even when I understood it and I saw it for the first time, I'm like, I don't want it. But the gut inside of me, it's like this thing is still connected. And so every now and then, I think when I spiral, I'm like, oh, but she could sacrifice, one finger, like a little something. And I'm like, no, wait, no, this is not what I want.
Yeah, I mean, I think you must have understood that that's how you would receive love, was to give yourself completely over. That did not matter how much it cost you, how much you lost, if you were going to get a little bit of love in return. And it was not something that I wanted to do. And I did not do it. But it led to a lot of interesting conversations following that in terms of love currency.
How would you translate love currency?
Tipo quando hai soldi, non I soldi dell'amore, ma
like exchange.
What is the exchange on that? So, you've got different currencies, the euro versus the dollar. One currency is stronger than the other. So if I give you 2 pink bricks, does that equal 1 red brick? Or does 5 pink bricks equal 1 red brick? What is the love currency? What is being exchanged? And actually it's like, I don't want your red brick, so what is it that you should be giving out? What is it that you are giving out? And that's I think what I mean by love currency is...
That's very interesting. What do you think? How heavy do you think is one of my red brick?
I think it would be every spare piece of brick and the whole castle, and not enough even.
The whole castle?
I think so. I think it's...
1 brick. I think it would be a lot. I think it would be probably, yeah, all the spare ones. Some of the castle.
Some of the castle, yeah. But then again, that's just 1 brick. So imagine you've got multiple of that. I think all of it would take everything, and then still that would not be enough.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think if you were functioning from that, it's like no matter how many pink bricks... I know this is a strange analogy, guys, but how many pink bricks I would give you, there would never be enough pink bricks, because I would not be giving you a red one. And so I think there'd be you would have felt like there was an unfairness in exchange.
Yeah, I think what I'm working on this last month is, because when I realized that, I also realized, oh, well, I don't have spare, because I've never worked towards that. I never worked towards... save some bricks outside of the castle to give away. I was just giving away the ones that I was using to build the castle. So what I started to do is working on the castle. And what I'm doing now, I feel like I'm finishing to build the castle how I want it to look like. And meanwhile, also try and divide the bricks that I receive into the ones that have to go in the castle and the ones that can be the ones that I can save to give. And so I feel like right now in this moment, I'm doing that, and I'm starting to build the savings and starting to give you love with the ones that are outside of the castle, instead of taking away a column of my foundation, risking that the building can collapse. So what about you? How do you feel about your love language? What's your love language? And how does it make you feel, like our thingy?
I do like receiving acts of service, so that works quite nicely for me. And I think what I give is quality time. So I think the interesting thing about all of languages, but I think the quality time, especially for me, is it's also something that I'll take away, even if I need it. So, which we've had many conversations about. So how I will show up with people is I'll show up, I'll be there, I will travel, I'll take a train, I will give you a ring. But it's also something that I will also isolate, which is also can be quite detrimental sometimes. When I need to connect, I will also isolate from that. And I think we've had dynamics where actually what I'm needing is connection from you. And because something's not going my way, or because it's not going as planned, I will then isolate, when in fact what I'm needing is connection.
Would you like me to force it?
I think I need reminding sometimes that actually what I do need is connection, and that time spent apart isn't good. Being in person, to feel like it's real, to not get lost in my own narrative, to remember that there's somebody else's narrative. So yeah, I also like my space. I'm a very introvert person, and I do need a lot of time alone, but there's a balance between needing some time for yourself and then isolating. They're not the same thing.
Was it difficult to accept your sexuality?
What a question. Am I going first on this?
If you want to. Do you want to answer? If I ask you questions that you're like, you tell me.
Yeah, I can answer. Very difficult is the answer. It took me a long time to accept my sexuality. I think I wanted to have a label, and I did not feel like I fit into that label. And I was at war because I did not know what label I should have. And even to this day, I think I still struggle with it. It was a secret for a bunch of years. It was not something I wasn't out when I first started exploring my sexuality. Eventually I did come out, and now obviously it's a non-issue. Not something I really think about. But yeah, there were years where it was on my mind every day. It was definitely heavy.
And why do you say? that is still difficult?
I don't think it's still difficult. I think it's something I can still struggle with the labels.
Mm-hmm.
So with the labels, it's like, you know, you're a lesbian, you're gay, you're whatever, you're this. And I think I really struggled to find the box that I felt was the most me. And I also didn't want to be put in the box at the same time.
There is a following up question that goes into that says, have you ever thought about going back, in a sense of, have you ever asked yourself, what if I was with a man?
100%. 100%. This is the conversation we have a lot. And actually we bonded over this very early on in our relationship, was the fact that we're both, I don't think we both don't identify as strict lesbians.
Well, for me, it was a journey that, because when I was younger, because it was so easy for me to accept the fact that I liked girls, because that was always what I felt. I just didn't know that it existed. At a certain age, I discovered that gay people exist, thinking it was only about men. I didn't know that lesbians exist. So when I found out, I was like, oh, so I can feel something too. I can love too. And I also started a long period of complete rejection of men. And so I just identified myself as lesbian. And I did put a label on me that at the beginning was super useful, because I could have directions in a sense of, okay, I exist too. This thing that I'm feeling exists and I can have it. So it was very useful in that sense. And then after years, it kind of became a label that didn't make me feel, it didn't set me free to explore whatever life could offer me. And so once I became older, after many years, I started to explore again, be free, more free, to the point where right now I don't even know how I would identify myself.
Yeah, I think it's the same for me. I think I had a different journey. I started off thinking I was straight. And then when I was presented with the fact that maybe I wasn't, I really battled against that, because, you know, you spend all your childhood and your years liking boys, and then you think, did that just go away, or was I making that up? And it's like, no, I didn't make that up. That was definitely something I felt. So what is it that is truth? What is it that is me? And obviously it's easier to be straight. And that when I started dating, my friends did not assume if it was a guy or if it was a woman. I think that was very liberating. Like now I think it's more, I don't feel the pressure of having to have a label. I think it's more interesting when other people label us.
How does that make you feel?
I don't feel funny about it, because I am in a relationship with a woman and have only been in a relationship with women. And so somebody on the outside to call me a lesbian, I'm like, okay, I see what your point is. I guess there is a part of me that is a lesbian. That makes sense. I understand it. It's just not the full picture. You never have the full picture of what other people are going through. So I'm not offended by it at all. I don't think. I understand. I'm like, yeah, that looks like for sure a lesbian relationship. So what else are you going to call it? Mm-hmm. But I think it's an interesting topic, this pressure we put on ourselves to get it right.
Yes, the following up question is, what would you say to somebody that is confused about its own sexuality? Because I would say, well, the first thing that comes in my mind is don't try to label yourself, but at the same time, actually look at the label and use it if it's useful for you. Like if you need, because it was useful for me at the beginning. Take it as a tool, not as a rule.
Yeah, I think if you're exploring your sexuality, I think the word exploring is key, is explore. And I think the thing is like, especially if you're unsure, you're exploring, is it will feel different with everybody. Like every relationship, whether you are hetero or, gay, each relationship with every different person you're in a relationship with will be different. It has a different color, it has a different taste, it has a different feeling. Sometimes you've got great sexual chemistry, but the romantic component is a big no-no. You're not compatible on a life scale. Okay, well, that's great. Go have some great chemistry with somebody. But if you're wanting to put them in the same box as the person that you're trying to get married, have children and buy a house with and do life with, then maybe that's not the right person. So I think it also depends on what you're looking for when you are exploring sexuality. It's like different phases will demand different things of you, and each different person will have a different feeling to them. And I think when you surrender to the fact that everything is different, that it won't feel the same way twice, I think you feel so much more free to be with a man, a woman, somebody that's non-binary, like whatever.
How do you build a healthy relationship between two women? Do you think that there are differences between a relationship with a man and a woman and a woman and a woman?
I think in a way it applies to sex as well, the differences. I think sex with a man versus sex with a woman is very different. I mean, you know, at the basis it's different. You know, it will be about the people that you're with. Like, one person will bring out one feeling in you. They will, you know, demand something from you. And then somebody else will demand something completely different. Some people find attraction in other people because of their physical body. Some find it because of their, you know, their mind.
What do you think is yours?
Me, I for sure need to know the person. I think attraction comes when I have an emotional connection with the person. I don't just look at somebody and want them. What about you?
I think for me, another thing that I started to realize later, and that I started to maybe not like it, is that I used to be always attracted by somebody that, for different reasons, I couldn't have. Which led me to a lot of things that I didn't really like, experiences that I could avoid, let's say.
But I think that's why it's so interesting when people are asking about exploring their sexuality. It's like, even for straight people, is a whole spectrum.
Yeah, but even in that, I think it played a huge role. The fact that it felt like it was too easy to get men. And so I think for a long period, I leaned so much more towards women rejecting men. I think also because of that. Because it felt like getting a woman was much harder, if not impossible. And so I was attracted to that more. Maybe because I wanted to feel rejected, if it makes sense. Almost as if I was attracted to feel rejected. Almost as if I needed the reassurance that I don't have that value. And so I had to put myself in that position, because either you are reassuring me that that's true. Yes, Greta, you're right. You're not that good. You're not that beautiful. You're not that interesting. Or, damn, if that person that was impossible for me to get fell in love with me and want me, it means that I'm good. So again, like, I'm not enough for myself to tell myself that I'm enough. I need somebody that feels impossible, so that, I don't know why, in my brain I connect you feeling impossible to the biggest judge in the world that can tell me if I'm good enough or not.
Do you find that that feels like a high? Getting
Oh yeah, it's definitely the highs and lows. Is that roller coaster. And because I need words of affirmation, and usually these people never gave me words of affirmation, then it felt like a roller coaster. So either one day you like me a lot, the day after is almost as if, not as if I forget it, but as if everything is reset and now I have to win you over again. So it's like one day I feel like I am nothing. The other day I feel like, okay, I'm good enough to live in this world. The other day, no. The other day, yes. Which is the thing of like taking your persona and make a little package with as if you're making a little gift, you give it to somebody else and you give to the other person the complete responsibility of what you think of yourself.
Which links to, you know, you giving over your red bricks beforehand. It's this complete surrender of self just to get a little sliver of anything. A little bit of love, or whatever you're perceiving as what love is. And there is nothing that you will not give of yourself to receive that.
Mm-hmm. It also led me in the past to struggle to talk openly in a relationship and say out loud what I was really feeling. Because the same way around, I felt like I had to make you feel as the best person in the world, because I automatically thought that the other person was going to do the same thing. So to put on me the responsibility to make them feel good enough. And so if something is not going okay in the relationship, I'm not going to tell you, otherwise you're going to think that you're not good enough. So I'm just going to keep it for myself, and I'm going to maybe again do that sacrifice of just deal with the weight of it. While in this relationship, I think it's the first time that I think I felt you from the beginning so secure in yourself that I felt free to tell you, I don't really like this thing. And it's the first time that happened for me. What were you laughing? How does that make you feel?
No, I mean, it's a good thing, right? I think being able to openly discuss what's not working for you is key in understanding what your needs are and what my needs are, and if you can make this relationship work, where is the line on the compromise. But I was just thinking about how that made you feel at the beginning when you're entering something expecting me to give over everything in the way that you want to give over, and when I didn't do it, how did that make you feel?
Mm-hmm. I think that I arrived in that in our relationship when I was in a point of my life that I already had that breakup with myself, and I already faced those things by that point. Like, I realized what I was doing in the past and that I didn't want to do it anymore, and I want something different. I wanted something healthy, something where I could openly speak and blah, blah, blah. But of course, when I met you, and this is also why I wasn't ready for commitment and for a relationship, is because it's almost as if I was in the middle of the process. Like, I had the break and then I was rebuilding, but I wasn't completely ready. So it's like I was aware, but it still was the first time having to deal with these new things, not knowing exactly what I wanted and what I didn't want. So it felt, for a lot of things, it felt very confusing. And sometimes it's confusing nowadays too, because the things that now are confusing me are the things that I'm still not able to look at completely because they're so in deep, But I feel like, again, we have the freedom in our relationship to also sometimes, when we reach this point where we're not sure what we want, what we don't want, and what we think about these things, is to give ourselves the freedom to create and shape a new reality. Because a lot of the times we face things and we tend to think that it's either like this or either like that. We sometimes stop and be like, okay, we can also create a third option. It felt spaesante, like without coordinate,
Like lost.
Yeah, but not in a scary sense. It's more like I am in a dark room. I know that there are pretty things inside this room. I'm just looking for the fucking light. Do you know?
So you speak a lot about roller coasters and that previous dynamic that you had. How do you think we get off the roller coaster?
How do we get off?
Yeah, so if you're like, is it possible to get off the roller coaster, or do you think that we'll forever eternally be stuck on roller coasters with just different sizes?
First of all, do we think that we get roller coasters when we're together in our relationship?
No.
I think in a way, yes.
I think there are highs and lows sometimes, but I wouldn't call it a roller coaster. I think we both have been in extremely intense relationships where the roller coasters are extremely violent, and there are very, very big highs and there are extreme lows. And I don't think our relationship is like that at all. I think there's a bit of bump sometimes, and it goes up and it goes down and it goes up and it goes down, but it's nothing. I think it's just everyday life. Like, I think there's a difference between everyday obstacles and then going on the same ride over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we're on the same ride that we were on the first year that we met. I don't think that we're on the same ride from the second year that we met. Sometimes same obstacles still show up, but I think it's like different rides completely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that if we get in the roller coasters, it's mostly because I think there are two main reasons. One is when everything is going too good. We like to put a little sprinkle of something, put a little bit of spicy in it.
We do.
Because we're so used to old paths that sometimes we don't even recognize it. And I also think that we came from a tough year last year, and it was a tough year this year too, for different reasons. So we did have a lot of stress in our private life, like you in your life, me in my life. And it's hard to like understand when sometimes the things that are triggering us are in the relationship or outside of the relationship, and we're bringing them in the relationship.
I think for me, there's part of the difference is because I'd say we've got a fairly healthy relationship. I think for me, I am in the first time in a relationship where I feel safe. All my toxic traits come out. Which is very different than I would say getting stuck on a roller coaster. I think we have triggers and we trigger each other, but we're going to need those triggers. This is good. It means we're meeting at the same emotional level and that we are able to hopefully heal them. Sometimes it's going to take longer to work some of them out, and they're going to keep showing up until we have learned how to deal with them. Sometimes it's because we have to do our own work individually. Sometimes it's because we haven't learned how to do that with somebody else. And I think because it's the first healthy relationship, there's a lot of unhealthiness that comes out because for the first time it's been allowed to come out, and it's like I don't know how to behave differently because I never had to behave in that way to start with. Like previous relationships demanded something completely different, and so I think that because of that it can feel like there are ups and downs. And I think that when you remember that it's because you're feeling safe enough to do that, okay, it's just about learning the skills to then get through to the other side, which is very different than when you're in a roller coaster or toxic relationship, because it's there, you're just on survival mode. There is no pause to go and then let the shit come out. You know, it's kind of like you're going round and round and round, and you're not catching your breath. But the thing is when you catch your breath, you realize, shit, okay, my heart is beating, and okay, actually, I'm really tense. Yeah, so that's why I wouldn't say that we have roller coasters in.
Yeah, no, I agree.
In that sense.
Yeah. What do you think are your toxic traits? Oh. I don't have them. I'm perfect. I'm flawless, and I am a good girl.
Exactly. Wow, that's another topic to go on. My toxic traits. I think we spoke about one earlier, like when I'm isolating, because of the lack of stability, I think growing up in some ways, and maybe the lack of safety that I sometimes felt, I attach some of that to being able to have a controlled environment. And when something is out of my control that I have not planned, the thing is I've got a lot of space for the unexpected and the roller coasters because I've been on them so many times. I can go from, just living to going into survival mode. I can do that. I can hop on and I can be proactive and like get shit done. But I think when you're actively working towards getting off the roller coaster and being at peace, what comes out is that like you're trying to control things, and the minute someone, takes away something, and then you panic. And I think that, when I do that and you like decide last minute you want to change plans, and sometimes it's as stupid as like, can we delay this by 2 hours? And it was not how I planned it in my day, and then now my response is isolation. Well, then I don't want to see you. Which is really bad, and we're working on it, but it feels very violent and very almost disrespectful, because it's just kind of like, no, this was the plan, why did you have to change it? Like this wasn't something that needed to be changed. It wasn't something that we didn't need exterior factors to come and affect it. It wasn't one of those unstable facts. It was, we're meeting for dinner at 7. That's the fact.
But sometimes you've got these things where
Oh,
You
but
don't like. You don't
I'm not
want
reading
me-
your room either. Like, it's not.
but
It
more
goes both
like,
ways.
Yeah, but it's more like you. We had a talk at the beginning where I clearly wanted you to have a crystal ball. Don't know how, but magic. Understand what I wanted. And for me to tell you I actually want this, it felt like, oh, well, now you're gonna do it because I told you, not because you wanted to do it. And you told me something really important that day. You told me, I want to love you, and I want you to teach me how to love you better. So teach me how to love you and what makes you feel loved, which is so wow. It changed my perspective on a lot of things. Sometimes it's still hard. Like a part of me still believes it a lot. Like I want you to do that thing because you want to do it, not because I told you to. But I feel like a lot of the times you want me to have a crystal ball with you.
Yeah, I think another one of my. I think we can be good at communicating, but I think I also struggle massively with communication. I think we can be very good, but I think you to get to the point where I am opening up, you've had to trudge through the mud and knock on the door multiple times for me to allow you in. And, thankfully you've kept trying, because when we get there, I'm like, I don't know why I was so resistant to this, because I feel so much better now that I've opened up. I feel so much better now that I've shared. I feel so much better now that I've unloaded my worries and that I'm sharing them with you. Yet I have a lot of resistance to it.
What's giving you the resistance?
I think it's... I think for some topics that we have that come up a lot in our relationship, there's this aspect of shame and guilt that comes up. And so you'll think, I'm thinking, this is not a thought I should be having. And if I'm having this thought, then it's bad. It can be like we spoke about earlier, like, what if I'm unsure? What if I want to take back that I want to be with women? Not that this is the case, but let's say this was a question I was having. Instead of just sharing with you that I'm feeling uncertain about how I'm labeling myself or how I'm experiencing, my sexual journey, my sexuality journey, I'm just holding it in, which then means that you don't have the space to say, oh, actually, sometimes I feel the same way too. And I think the minute we're able to say, oh, I'm feeling this way, and you're like, oh, I'm feeling this way too, you feel so much better. And actually sometimes the problem goes away just because you managed to say, I've had this thought and it scared me and I didn't know what to do with it. And every time, I have this, your response is always like, oh yeah, so this happens to me too. And then I feel instantly better. I think I get stuck in the shame narrative of what I'm thinking, what I'm feeling, what I'm believing is wrong. Or it's not right, or
I'm not supposed to.
I'm not supposed to, exactly. I'm not supposed to have doubts about my relationship. I'm not supposed to have doubts about sex. I'm not supposed to have doubts about who I want to be with, how I want my future to look like, what I want to be doing. I'm not supposed to have doubts. I'm supposed to get it right, and I'm supposed to know what I'm doing. And I think the minute I'm not perceived as doing something good or doing something well, I think I lock up because I'm unsure. I also don't want to hurt you in whatever it is that I'm saying, because sometimes I carry a lot of guilt from, the years that I was figuring out my sexuality. I feel like I did hurt some people, and it maybe wasn't necessary, but maybe it was, I was just figuring it out. And so I'm afraid that whatever questions I'm having could hurt you, but I actually think they hurt me more by not asking those questions.
I think it hurts me more to not talk about them, because for me, I did reach a point in my life where with this relationship with you, I really, truly, deeply feel the kind of love of, I want you to be happy and it doesn't have to be with me. The first thing that I understood when I met you is that I know for sure, 100%, 1,000% that I want you in my life. Doesn't matter the shape. I want you as my girlfriend. But if this ever has to change, it's okay. Just stay in my life, And so I truly want you to be happy. And I love you in the way of, I love you. I want you to love yourself and follow yourself, even if it leads you far away from me. And it truly is a way, maybe another extension of love language. It is a way for me to love you. So I would 100% prefer you to tell me, even for myself. But I prefer you to tell me, I think I want to date men. I think I want something different. I think this thing doesn't work for me anymore. I think I have to look for my happiness somewhere else. I think I would feel that confession as a huge form of love. For you to tell me something like that, I would feel loved if you tell me something like that, because I know it's honest, because I know that you're following your compass.
Because the thing is we both, have been on different journeys and we've both worked on ourselves, but I think there's this deep understanding that there are lessons that we need to learn and there are things that you need to learn about yourself, and sometimes in order to get there, you're going to need to do certain things. And I think we've both understood that those things that we need to do them. And I think we understand that there's such a big feeling behind that there's no judgment towards the other person for wanting to do that, like go and answer that question, because that kind of inner world that exists within ourselves is to be nurtured. And I think that when you're suffocating it, when you're silencing it, you're not getting to the root of what this whole human experience is about.
Yeah.
And even now, I think, if I was to think about us, and if we had to go different directions, I would no longer think about it about like in a way of a breakup. I would think about it in terms of a reframe. Okay, we're just reframing our relationship. I think that we don't want to be in the way of each other. It's like, I want to be there and I want to hold your hand and be there like as you go through it, but I do not want to be in the way of you getting to where you need to go, because it's also understanding that like, if that's what's best for you, then it's probably what's best for me, because you don't want to be in a relationship with somebody that's thinking, I need something else. Like, the question that you need to ask yourself is like, am I getting what I need from this? Is this enough for me? I think that opens up a big conversation, and I think you just feel so much more free when we finally gave ourselves the permission to be honest about how we were feeling. One, I thought it brought us closer, and I feel like there's so much intimacy and understanding that like, I haven't figured it out and I don't have the answers.
So we also wrote down a few questions for ourselves. Estelle wrote some questions to me that I didn't see before. So you can go on.
Do you ever feel jealous?
Ooh. Not the jealousy, not in the sense of jealousy that usually it's meant when we talk about relationships. I think sometimes I can get jealous, which is a feeling that sometimes I'm ashamed of, because I get jealous sometimes, rarely, when I know you're having a really good time. It's more of like, oh, I wish you had a good time with me too, because I think that we're not spending enough time together. So it's more a jealousy of time, of that quality time. And if I would get jealous, I think that I would get jealous when somebody is giving you or is making you feel things that I can't manage to make you feel. Do you ever get jealous?
I think I've been realizing that there's an aspect of jealousy that exists, but I think it's the same. It's not, oh, I'm jealous because another woman is talking to you or another man is talking to you. I think there's jealousy, and again, I wouldn't describe it as jealousy, but I think come to the understanding that it's probably jealousy is, the fact that you don't spend enough time with me. And so that whoever else is getting your attention, like there's an unfairness to that, I think, that I feel. And Nikki, I love you, but it will be directed towards Nikki, who you spend, I think, a lot of your, like 90% of your time in your week is spent with him. And I think it's not an intense jealousy. I think it's more just a little pang, just kind of like where you can feel frustrated that you don't feel like the priority, which is also not true, because like the minute you're off work, you are making plans and you're trying to do everything you can to see me.
Do you ever think about breakup? And do you ever question your love for me?
Yes, I do think about breaking up sometimes. think we talk about this. I think there's two things. I think there's the real questioning and there's the unfortunate cycle of hormones that happens that just before I get my period.
I feel a little bit like a man when this happens. when you're like, by the way, I'm PMS, and I'm like, what does this mean? What do I have to do? Do I have to be careful in what I'm saying?
No, I think part of it's at the beginning I had a lot of weight on that because I didn't understand exactly what was happening, and then after it kept happening the exact same week of the exact same part of my cycle, I'm just kind of like, oh, this has nothing to do with me actually. It's just cyclical. It's kind of like
But do you think it's because of that, or do you think that allows these thoughts to come out?
No, because again, like it's almost you become a different person.
Me or you?
Me. I like when I'm super PMS, I become a different person almost, and it's like I'm not somebody that's very insecure, but I could become massively insecure. The other 3 weeks I know what I'm doing, I know who I'm with, I know what I want, and then this week it's like nothing's working. Anyways, I'm a failure, and I'm never going to get it right. But I also do have the other like thinking of like, actually, is this what I want? Am I? Do we want to break up? Is this something that I want to continue doing? For sure, I question it.
What are the things that make you think about breakup?
I think sometimes, like we've spoken about, when there are questions that I have that are unanswered and I haven't decided on the weight of how important it is for me to find the answer. So for me, when I'm thinking about breaking up, it's never because it's working so badly that there is nothing left to save. For me, I think all of our issues are fixable. To an extent, I think there's a lot of them that's about learning. There's a lot about it's just about creating space. Some of it's just figuring it out. Some of it's just I need to do some work on myself to get to a different place. Some of it's a trauma response. When you're putting me in conflict, I don't like conflict. I really struggle with conflict. And the minute I'm put in conflict, because you've called me out, because we've disagreed, whatever, I feel at war. I find it difficult to work through that in a level-headed way. And so immediately my walls go up and I'm like, this isn't working. We have to break up. So there's that side of it as well, which is it's a response to not feeling I can deal with whatever you've put in front of me. And most often it's me being able to deal with the mirror of myself. So whatever it is that you're mirroring to me, when you're pointing out that I'm not who I'm saying I am, or when I'm doing something and I didn't think I was doing it, and when it's the most difficult to digest, I think that's when my walls go up and I'm like, this isn't working. I'm not feeling seen. I'm not feeling heard, and you're wrong. Even if you're not wrong, and part of me knows you're not wrong, I think my response can be like, well, this isn't working, so let's break up. So I think there's that other one. And then I think sometimes there are certain aspects of our relationship that we struggle with that I feel like we shouldn't struggle with. And so I do question if then the root of that is because we're not supposed to be together that way. And then if the solution would be to break up. So one of my questions was, are you ever attracted to other people? Is there a side to fantasy where there's other people involved? And do you think it's healthy or unhealthy?
You mean adding people in the relationship?
No, I think more in your like interior world. Like if you're thinking about...
If I would do stuff with other people and you?
No. Just in your head.
Just a fantasy, but this fantasy.
Like, no. I don't know how to phrase it. It's kind of like, my question is like, are you ever attracted to other people? That's one question. Mm-hmm. And then within that, are there other people that make you feel things outside of me? And do you think that's healthy or not healthy?
It can happen. I think there are different types of attraction. And there's one that is the one that I get when, you just want to have fun. It does scare me to think about it.
So has this happened while you're with me? What are you thinking in general in your life?
It scares me to answer because I don't want you to have a bad image of that. I think it happened, but it doesn't define anything unless I spiral. When I'm in a low and I'm spiraling, I do get am I supposed to feel something different? Or is it okay what I'm feeling now? You know? Yeah. How does that make you feel?
I think it's pretty normal. I think especially for people who...
It does scare me a little bit to talk about it.
Yeah, that's why I had a good question.
Good question.
I think it's also one of those things that's taboo. People are like, oh, you can't look at another woman because you... It's just like, if you are somebody that feels attraction on a very physical level just by observing somebody, to go out in the world and not find somebody attractive...
I think that sometimes I'm scared.
Is just like, that's just crazy.
I think that sometimes I'm scared here now, for example, with this question, that I have no idea if you're going to answer with, oh yeah, shallah, or if you're going to answer with, what? And so I'm like, well,
come on. Yeah, so I think there's a certain aspect of it that's normal. I think then there's a different kind when you're, I don't know, when it's intimate, when you have a co-worker that you fancy and then it grows into something and then it's not spoken about. Mm-hmm. I think that's problematic.
Mm-hmm. I think I would do something about it. Like I would talk about it with you because it would mean for me that there's something that I need to change. Mm. So
you're just talking about, oh, you're an attractive person and then move on.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just kind of feeding attraction. For me, I think that's completely normal. I think it'd be really strange. There are so many beautiful people out there in the world.
I did have a period, again, when I spiral, that I am worried that if we reach a limit where we didn't manage to work out all of our problems, because I know that I would never let myself free to feel completely attracted to somebody else if I'm with you. Mm-hmm. So it's not like something can happen. It's not like I could cheat on you, because I would have the conversation first.
Absolutely.
I would make the things clear first.
Also, I always ask this from a very curious place because I don't feel attraction just based on looking at people. So listening to people...
that me neither. There always has to be... It could also just be physical, just by looking, but it's not just by looking. It's looking and thinking what the person might be like. Mm-hmm. Does that ever happen to you? Like, I'm asking you the same question.
Not with real people. Not with people that exist.
Buongiorno, follettini e follettine.
Che vuol dire?
Folletto. There's a thing that you find in fairy tales. Il folletto is the one with ears like this.
A fairy?
Sì, però un folletto is like a dwarf.
The love of my life.
Sì, but a dwarf folletto.
Ah, no.
At least this is the image that I get.
No. These are fully grown. What are your deal breakers?
My problem with deal breakers is that I learned to put them only recently when I got to know you. before I knew you, before I met you, because before I was like, no, everything is fine. I can
overcome anything.
Yeah.
Whatever trauma you throw at me, I am strong enough because you love me a little bit.
And then I died.
Yeah. I also think in the context of when we're talking about breaking up, there's nothing so bad. It's not, some people
which is also hard, because when something happens, like you cheated on me, okay, I've got a problem and I have to decide now if I want to break up or not.
Or if I stay,
but
exactly.
If everything is going fine and there's nothing huge that is happening, how do you decide,
Exactly, because it's nothing is big enough that it warrants a big reaction. And then it's the culmination of little things then.
Yeah.
But then if you're taking these little things one by one, it's just kind of like, okay, but actually part of being in relation with people is compromise, and it's understanding that it's not always easy, and that there needs to be a lot of grace and a lot of patience about how people are. And then, yeah, so when I think about deal breakers, like,
they say that it's harder to break up from a healthy relationship than for a toxic relationship.
is that what they say?
Yeah, which I think in part is true.
Maybe, because there's nothing really wrong. And if there's nothing really wrong, then why isn't everything right?
I have I have another little question that I want to add on this. Does the age play a role for you in the decision of that? Like, do you get scared of 27 now? Like, if I break up, time to get another partner, time to, like, or scared to find somebody else, thinking you might not gonna find somebody else, you know?
No. Because I haven't decided exactly what I want. I think part of understanding what I do want would be whatever journey I take. And I think that whatever path I decide to take, then, you know, that will be the right path. And that will be because that was better for me, or what I thought was better for me at the time. And then understanding that maybe it was not what was best for me will be another lesson that I will have to learn. You know, I think that's part of it, is being like, I didn't know better back when I made the decision. Maybe now I do, maybe I would have made a different decision, but I was not that person yet. And so I was not able to make that decision. And sometimes it's very difficult to swallow, but I think it's just the truth. And I don't want anything so badly that I would just stay with you just because I was afraid of not finding anybody else. I think I'd rather be single for the rest of my life than to remain in something that I didn't feel deep down was right for me, but stayed in it anyways because I wanted a family, or I was like, I don't want it so badly that I would deny the deepest parts of myself.
What did this relationship taught you of yourself?
Oh, that was another question I had.
Yeah?
What did you learn about yourself?
I mean,
Wow.
I think this
But
would be
we've
an
answered.
infinite... No, I think this would be an infinite answer. I think plenty of things.
Sure.
A lot of things. I met you when I was in a place where my head was up in the clouds and I was still looking for my purpose, and I was still fixing my castle, and I was still confused about a lot of things, and you kind of like helped me get my feet on the ground. But not just that. It wasn't about becoming more serious, because I wasn't doing it because I was afraid that it meant to leave my child in a room. But I learned with you to have a balance with that. And the most important image is one that I also talked about in one of the episodes, which was, I used to see the adult version of myself as if something so serious that if I got there, I had to abandon my child, while you gave me this image of, no, your adult life is as if you're living in a boat, and the adult life is the one that puts the hands on the wheel and looks at the child and asks, where do you want to go? There? Okay, let's go. And the adult is the one that takes direction to go where you want to go, and to make to create the world that the child is dreaming of, which completely shifted the image. And I learned how to paint in life.
Are you sad that some past versions of me no longer exist? Because I think we've talked about how when we started our relationship, we were in very different places. We were different people almost. And you have changed, and I have equally changed as well. Is there any sadness about no longer being those people?
No, because I don't feel like they don't exist anymore. I feel like we are, every day we put a layer on top of another layer on top of another layer. So first of all, I think that you, during this almost 3 years, you almost took away some of your layers and showed yourself more.
Mm-hmm.
I think that in these 3 years, I learned to put more layers that I wanted and I was missing, choosing them, not layers that I don't have control on, that are limiting me. So I think we came from two different points, and we almost did this, and we met at a certain point, and then we did this again. So I feel like those parts didn't disappear. In fact, I think sometimes they're coming out again. So yeah, I don't feel sad about it. Same with me. I don't feel like, I know that, for example, when we met, because I had my head on the clouds, I had more space to be funny and spontaneous in the, it's what I call Jet's improvisation.
Improvisation, yeah.
Improvisation. But I feel like, for example, now that I'm settling down a little bit more, I'm creating now more space to get back in touch with that side of me. So it's never as if I'm letting them go and they don't exist anymore. It's still, recalibrating every time. You?
I think sometimes. I think there's a bit of sadness, but I think in the same way that sometimes there's nostalgia for past versions of yourself. It's almost like you don't know what's going to come. And sometimes there's a lot of beauty in that, but sometimes it's also quite sad. And not in a way that it's bad. It's more just kind of...
like looking at the picture.
Yeah, looking at the picture. Yeah, so sometimes I miss aspects of the version of myself that I was when we met. And then sometimes I think I am more me each day. And in the same way that I feel like you're more you each day. And maybe it's the innocence. I think that sometimes I feel nostalgic about certain things, about each other, about the world. But again, it's not all lost. I think, we come in circles, and the older I get, the more I realize that I'm exactly the same person I was when I was a child. I like the same things. I want to do the same things, the same feelings, the same kind of people, same kind of activities. And it's just coming full circle. It's just kind of like allowing what I've always known to be true to come back to be truth, because I got distracted and forgot. And so even when there are certain life situations that cause you to be a different version of yourself, I think it will hopefully come back again. And I think that's usually how it goes.
I don't look at them as with the sadness of, I miss those versions, they're not going to come back anymore. It's more like, I miss those versions. How can I get them to come out again?
Yeah, as well.
Okay. How do you feel?
I feel okay.
Yeah?
Yeah.
How was it?
Yeah, good.
Yeah?
Yeah, you?
Yeah.
I don't think we broke any ground. I think we had interesting conversations. I don't think really it was any conversations we've never had. Actually, some questions were new for you, I think.
Yeah, although I feel like we went through them with a different vibe.
Maybe, yeah.
So also maybe with different eyes.
This is true.
Maybe that was a good icebreaker, and then we can go back at it, breaking the ground. Also, I think to give them an image of what our relationship looks like, and then now they can come up with questions that are more
specific.
Yeah. All right. Questa, ragazzi, è stata la prima puntata in inglese che abbiamo fatto con Estelle. Non so come è andata, fateci sapere se la roba dei sottotitoli ha funzionato oppure no.
Speriamo.
La prossima volta possiamo costringerla a parlare in italiano. Non è uscito proprio fuori l'italiano oggi.
Ma anche tu non hai parlato in italiano, non ho risposto in italiano.
Non mi è venuto di parlare in italiano. Se gli argomenti di questa puntata vi hanno toccato, c'è qualche punto di vista che voi volete esprimere, una vostra esperienza, come voi sapete, anche solo il fatto di raccontare la propria esperienza, altre persone che leggono e si ritrovano possono trovarlo molto utile, anche solamente leggere la vostra storia. Potete farlo qua sotto se siete sia su YouTube che su Spotify. Se invece volete condividere il vostro punto di vista, ma non in maniera pubblica, ma direttamente a noi, ci potete trovare su Instagram e scriverci in direct a wearefreaks.podcast, dove siamo più attivi, pubblichiamo sondaggi, box interattivi, anche per partecipare attivamente di più al podcast. Altrimenti ci potete trovare anche su TikTok a We Are Freaks Podcast. Se invece state cercando persone come noi con cui poter avere queste chiacchierate e poter parlare liberamente di quello che sentite senza giudizio, stiamo anche creando la nostra community su Discord e anche lì potete trovare il link qua sotto. Se questa puntata vi è piaciuta, sappiate che a noi fa tanta differenza se vi va di iscrivervi o vi va di mettere un mi piace o qualsiasi cosa, sappiate che a noi fa un po' di differenza, ecco, per aiutarci a creare questa community e questa rete di pensieri che stiamo cercando di creare. Detto ciò, vi mandiamo un grande abbraccio da Greta
e da Estelle
e da We
Are
Freaks. Bye bye. Bello, baby.